Two of baseball's best sluggers on center stage in D.C. Bryce Harper popped his 29th. Giancarlo Stanton blasted number 37. They are young, they are big-time strong, and they are back at it again tonight. Stanton and Harper, Marlins and Nationals. Washington, D.C., no rain today in the district. Gorgeous night here at the ballpark. Marlins and Nationals, entertaining games all season long when these two teams meet, including last night. Harper buddy Rich Waltz, along with home run connoisseur Todd Hollandsworth. Stanton and Harper, give me where they are right now in their career. Let's start with Stanton.
Oh, well, it's still pretty early on. I got to be honest. I know that we see big numbers, 150, lots of, piling it up. You see it Stanton doing it this year as well. He's already got 37. Listen, both are having fantastic seasons. Both are having fantastic careers, but this is just the beginning of the story. It's the tip of the iceberg. I expect to be talking next to you about these guys for like the next 10 years.
Okay, now Bryce Harper. Marlins have seen an awful lot of him.
Well, I'll tell you, the Marlins have done such a fantastic job, particularly over the last two series, of pitching to Bryce Harper, been able to contain him. But what you learned last night was if you make one mistake, if it's one get-me-over curveball at the front end of an at-bat, he's going to get you. Number 150 leaves the yard. One of the youngest players to do it now, part of a club, 100 is it 25 or under? 14 players have done it. He's one of them.
Here are the top four. Albert was a machine when he got to the big leagues. Giancarlo second fastest. And Harper and Trout are identical. 24 years, 295 days. What are the chances?
Yeah, you know what? This is a great rivalry. I love it. One's in the American League, one's in the National League. In fact, when they played together this year, one homered in his first at bat, then the other one homered, then Trout homered. It was unbelievable. These two are going to go at each other in a good way for an awful long time. I think the great debate is back. Who is the best player in all of baseball? Most people are still leaning a little bit towards Trout, but Harper continues to make up ground.
Well, we've got two fantastic sluggers and a pitching rematch as well. Marlins and Nationals, Game 2, one-run win for the Nats last night. Marlins go back at them again tonight. Back in D.C., Capitol Building, all refurbished. And A.J. Cole is on the mound, getting ready to face the Marlins for the second time in less than a week. Miami's lineup is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. D. Gordon in the leadoff spot, Giancarlo Stanton since the 17th of July. After the All-Star break, 11 home runs already. Yelich is in the 3 spot. Marcell Ozuna gets a night off, so JT Realmuto hits cleanup. Derek Dietrich slides to 5th. Tomas Talis back at 1st. Ichiro a start in left field. Miguel Rojas at short. Van Swirly hits ninth. And a fastball for a strike. Manny Gonzalez behind home plate. Cole opens 0-1 to D. Gordon. 80 degrees on first pitch. A.J. Cole 0-2 on Gordon.
Well, let's give you the Auto Nation scouting report of A.J. Cole. 6'5", 215 pounds, 25 years old. All right, Act 1, that came on August 2nd. That was versus the Marlins. Marlins got to him. Stanton had an RBI double in the first and a 4-run fifth against him as well. So sent him on his way. The Marlins picked up a W that day, and in fact the lefties were outstanding. You see, that's key number 2 tonight. The lefties, Gordon, Yelich, Dietrich, that day they're all in the lineup tonight. 4 for 6, 2 homers, a triple, and 3 walks, 4 runs, 4 RBIs. So A.J. Cole really struggles with the lefties, hitting .412 against him on the season.
And he strikes out D. Gordon, going outer half with a breaking ball.
Tonight you're going to see just that. That fastball and slider. His slider is his best pitch. Occasional curveball or changeup, but again, he really leaned on that slider when he hit a nice little stretch in that game, that first game. I expect to see him do a lot more of that tonight.
Giancarlo Stanton climbs in. Stanton and Scherzer last night was a terrific matchup to watch. Stanton launched number 37 that banged into the walls of the Marlins bullpen in deep, dark left field. Scherzer struck him out the first 2 times and just couldn't figure out what to throw him in that third at bat. When he got down to 2 strikes, he shook off at 1.5 signals from his catcher last night, Matt Wieters. Stanton stepped out. They reset the signs. Scherzer chose fastball, and Stanton blasted it.
He's still figuring it out then, right, Rich?
There's a strike, and it's 2-1. Well, Fox Track shows you that was just off the plate. Everybody getting settled, including Manny Gonzalez. That's Jose Lobaton behind the plate tonight. And Stanton takes down low. I guess there's no coincidence that with 11 home runs post All-Star break, his chase rate is down, his eye is better.
Well, and even on this road trip, one that's got him at 6 for 15 with 4 home runs, he's hitting a variety of pitches hard.
This is the sequence last night.
And the best part about this at bat is that he earns the fastball by laying off those 2 sliders. Scherzer had done that the prior 2 at bats, and you see the discipline. He swings through 1 fastball, but he earns the other fastball because he stayed ahead. This is a 3-1 pitch. You see Scherzer and Wieters, I don't want to call it necessarily miscommunication, but trying to figure out the right pitch, and ultimate result.
And A.J. Cole strikes out Stanton.
Well, so far tonight, as we mentioned in the Auto Nation keys to the ball game, you've seen that slider now twice to pick up a couple of quick strikeouts from Cole.
Defense tonight behind Cole for the Nationals.
A few changes in tonight's ball game. Adam Lind gets the start in left field. Goodwin in center. Harper over and right as usual. Rendon, Defoe, Sanchez, and Zimmerman. Lobaton behind the plate. A.J. Cole on the mound.
Christian Yelich at the plate. As you pointed out in your scouting report, lefty bats, not only when the Marlins faced Cole a few days ago, but all season long, have hit this right-hander in his career, actually, in the big leagues.
Huge discrepancy in the splits. 4-12 for lefties coming into tonight's ballgame. Righties 2-0-8. Here's the one thing that really stands out to my eyes. Cole, 6 walks to left-handed hitters, only 1 strikeout on the season. Well, now 3. Excuse me, 2. D. Gordon.
Change up to Yelich, misses down low. Christian last night was 1 for 2. He was on base a lot. He walked twice last night.
.309 batting average over his last 36 games.
On base up to .365 on the season. Sprays that one to short. Wilmer Defoe to first in time. A.J. Cole looks much improved from the last time the Fish saw him. Scoreless start. Park, high above, and Swirly down below, ready to go. And he would love to duplicate that start 5 days ago against the Nationals.
Best of the season. 7 innings, 2 hits, no walks, 3 Ks, 16 ground ball outs. He had great command of the 2-seamer, the 4-seamer, the cut fastball. He threw 84 fastballs in that ball game and was just absolutely magnificent.
Brian Goodwin, the leadoff hitter. Goodwin lifts it into the seats foul. Both these teams come in here banged up. You could spend probably 2 innings running through the disabled lists for both of the ball clubs, for Don Mattingly and for Dusty Baker. Brian Goodwin a chance to play with the Adam Eaton injury. And of course Jason Worth on the shelf too. Worth is getting closer to being able to come back after that broken bone in his foot. Count 1-2. Worley's cutter actually caught the plate. The breaking ball misses outside.
Great career numbers for Vance Worley against this Nats team. 2.81 career ERA in 5 starts. It's very well out of the bullpen against them.
Yeah, Worley trying to bring that one back, catch the plate. You see his career now. That's split between starts and relief appearances. That one was very close to the strike zone as well. And a 3-2. On a hop, Gordon has it, fires to first in time. Nationals lineup tonight against Worley. Goodwin in the leadoff spot. Adrian Sanchez is at second base. Daniel Murphy not in the lineup. Bryce Harper is in right field. Ryan Zimmerman is at first. Adam Lind, the hero last night, with an RBI pinch hit single in the bottom of the 8th. Anthony Rendon. Wilmer Defoe's at short. Jose Lobaton gets the call behind the plate, and A.J. Cole's in the 9 spot. And of course, we got emails and tweets tonight. It is Tuesday, right?
It is.
It is Tuesday. So, emails and tweets tonight. Jessica Blaylock is here with us as well. And a strike to Sanchez. Marlins saw Sanchez a couple times in the 3-game series in South Florida. Miami won 2 of those 3. And Sanchez was in and out of the lineup in a variety of spots. Quickly, it's 0-2. So, the Auto Nation Sky Report gave you the lowdown on Cole. You see Sanchez, a 26-year-old Venezuelan. On Worley, Todd mentioned the ground ball out, 16 of them against the Nationals, and he's already got 1 in his column here.
When you're that good against a team your last time out, you're going to look to duplicate exactly what you did. And you're going to see if this Nationals team can make an adjustment. The fastball percentage is astounding. 91% of the 92 pitches that he threw in his last start. As I mentioned, 84 fastballs in different variations, including the cutter. Very effective.
That one into center field. That's a ground ball base hit. Sanchez aboard. Harper coming up. And Miami defensively tonight.
A couple changes for the Marlins defense in tonight's ball game, starting with Ichiro getting the start in left field. Christian Yelich, Giancarlo Stanton back at home and right. Dietrich, Rojas, Gordon, Talise at first again. JT Romito behind the plate. Vance Worley on the mound.
Ichiro on left.
That was a good opportunity to get Ichiro in the ball game, get him a start, I should say. Talked about the lefty numbers against Cole paired with Ozuna. Ozuna's had a couple big hits on this road trip, but overall it's been a little slow, 2 for 16.
Scheduled off day for Ozuna. For Daniel Murphy, a little bit of an off day and maybe a physical maintenance day for the.
I'm going to call it a head scratcher.
For the Nationals second baseman. Bryce Harper. And of course, Harper got a breaking ball and punched it into the seats last night. 29 homers on this season. That .621 slugging percentage leads the National League. Second to Aaron Judge in Major League Baseball. Stanton, with his home run last night, is now at .611, so he's second. Giancarlo is second in the National League. There's that great downward and cutting action. Each cutter is kind of different.
It is.
I mean, it can run from side to side. It can dive bomb a little bit. It can run on you.
And he likes to throw that cut fastball a lot of times into the left-handed hitter so he can set up his two-seamer away. Gets them thinking about it. As you just saw right there.
And he's gone 3-1 now on Bryce Harper.
Bryce 3 multi-hit games in his last 4. 23 career home runs versus the Marlins. That's most versus any team.
Nationals lead is a healthy one in the East, a 14-game bulge. And a walk to Harper. And here comes Ryan Zimmerman. One of the reasons the Nationals have a 14-game lead is the first half that Ryan Zimmerman put up, a MVP-type first half. Zimmerman, who many felt wouldn't be a full-time starter throughout the year, at least the offseason and even in spring training, but he came out gangbusters. Lately, over the last 3 weeks, though, it's a different tune. He's struggled to be consistent offensively.
He walked and scored last night's ball game, but he's 0 for his last 15 versus the Marlins. Did have a couple hits in the Cubs series over the weekend, and he has slowed down over, well, this start to the second half. Very good player, likes to go the other way. Likes to get his arms extended. He is a ground ball candidate. Certainly he'll hit into a few ground ball double plays.
Crowd still arriving here. The gate out in left center very busy. Zimmerman pops it into the seats. And the count now 1-2. It's a unique ballpark in that the city and some of the government buildings you can see out beyond left fields. There it is, the Capitol building.
Are you sure that's not because of how high we are?
Well, that's the look on camera. So here's a 1-2.
We're eye level with the Capitol building.
And one of the really cool things I like about this ballpark is the subway stop and the street that comes right down into left field. And the main gate is actually in left field. The Anacostia River runs behind the ballpark and up the first base side. Count 2 balls and 2 strikes. Adam Lind, lefty bat on deck. A single by Sanchez. A walk to Harper. Worley needs to make a pitch here. 2-2. And it just missed.
Worley's control is just off a smidge compared to where he was his last start. And that right there was a very good pitch right on the corner, but did not get the call.
That could have and should have been called strike 3. So now it's 3-2. Let's see if the Nationals gamble here and start the runners. They run, and Zimmerman rolls it foul. And I'm sure Dusty Baker is thinking about stay out of a double play with all the ground balls that Worley got last week.
Well, and also understanding that Worley is going to challenge. He's not, other than the walk, he doesn't typically walk a lot of guys. Likes to be very aggressive and certainly get that action on the ground. So yes, I would anticipate it again.
Nationals don't do a whole lot of it. Worley used a couple of double plays in that ball game. 3-2 again on Zimmerman. Harper not being held at first, which makes it really hard for Rojas and Gordon to turn a double play. Look how far that lead is. Harper's going to be on top of whoever is at the bag if it is a double play ball.
That's Harper's goal right now because he's not being held on. For
runner goes,
reasons.
swing and a miss, throw down to third, and he's out at third base. That is a strike him out, throw him out, double play. Real Muto, a late arriving Dietrich, a nice job with the catch and the tag. And Vance Worley gets out of it. Nationals, JT Real Muto on his way to the plate. Emails and tweets. Hashtag DC Baseball. That's one of our themes tonight. At Fox Marlins on Twitter. FoxMarlins@gmail.com if you want to email us. We'll get to as many as we can. Any topic you want. Fun ones, angry ones, melancholy, sarcastic. Jessica Blaylock will have throughout the show a look at baseball in the Capitol, and not just the Nationals. Go back to the Senators, go back to the Homestead Grays here as well. 0-1 to JT. Real Muto hit a ball that a lot of people, including Marlin players on the bench, thought was going out last night. It ended up being caught right at the wall in left center field.
Muto 0 for 4 in last night's ball game. Still hitting .359 on the road this season. Outstanding stuff.
Count 0-2 to Real Muto. And Cole nipping at the corner. Now, if you watched the bottom of the first, it looked like on Fox Tracks, much like that, Vance Worley was not getting the calls that were right on the edge, both at the knees and on the corners. Real Muto rolls it to third. Rendon. On the 13th is a Sunday against the Rockies. It's an Aquafina family 4-pack. Say that 5 times fast.
No shot.
It starts at $84. 4 tickets, 4 Nathan's all beef hot dogs, 4 Pepsi soft drinks, or Aquafina waters. Go to marlins.com/Aquafina. Marcell Ozuna, a scheduled off day today. So Derek Dietrich occupies the 5 spot. Real Muto sliding up to 4. Dietrich takes up. Email time. Let's go to Gary, who is an exiled Brit living in Florida. I've taken on the Marlins as my team. I'm attending my first game in 2 weeks. It's Friday night against the Padres. My nephew is coming 3,500 miles to visit. His favorite player is JT Realmuto. That's JT Realmuto bobblehead night. So that's why they've chosen that game.
Okay.
Any tips on first time attending at Marlins Park? Best place for a fly ball, batting practice, or best place to catch a close glimpse of the players? Things to do in and around the park, or the grounds as he calls it. He is a Brit, that's right. No cricket bats allowed is the first rule, Gary. That's a letter high strike. Dietrich was ready to jettison the bat. Let's look on Fox Tracks. Well, that's.
I think both teams, hitters included, both pitchers are still trying to figure out what the edges are going to be in tonight's ball game.
That went foul back. Gary, first question. This is from my producer, John Sulzer. Is your nephew old enough for the Cleveland? And if not, here are some suggestions for fun around Marlins Park. The Bobblehead Museum, got to go see that. That's on the concourse right behind home plate. Visit the new cookie stand and cupcake spot right by there. That's a good double play. If you want a little bit of authentic Cuban food, the Taste of Miami in left field. I know the beer is a little different over at Marlins Park than say over in Britain. They don't sell it by the pint, I guess. But the Budweiser balcony is a great place to be during batting practice.
There you go.
For the right-handed hitters. Swing and a miss. And down goes Dietrich. Go to the team store. Say hi to Robin. She still has some great all-star stuff there as well. Here's the last pitch to Dietrich.
Yeah, I think the 3-0 pitch probably set up this swing. You see the tailing action on Cole's fastball at 95 miles an hour. Dietrich does not go after this pitch if the 3-0 pitch isn't called a strike. And that's what happens sometimes when you see the pitches on the edges. And it's a pretty good example of how it'll affect the hitter's mind.
And the best place to see players up close is probably during batting practice. You're allowed to come down behind the dugouts and see both the Marlins and, in your case, the Padres that night. Tomas Telis at first base, 1 for 4 last night with a double.
A good piece of hitting against Scherzer last night. Slashed one the other way.
3 strikeouts already for A.J. Cole.
Well, his composure seems to be, as you see, at 27 pitches. He's in a between the ears, as you would like to say in the game, in a better spot.
Telis says he was hit. This is a reviewable play, and you saw Telis point down to his leg. The Marlins video room taking a look at it right now. We'll take a look as well and see if we can see. Yeah,
oh yeah,
hit it in the toe, right at the toe.
He redirected it. That's going to be an easy one.
And the Marlins will challenge. Sure. It's a tough call for an umpire. You're going on sound, and if it doesn't show up on the radar, so to speak, it went right into the catcher's glove.
Yeah, and that's the point right there. It went right into Lobitone's glove. So that's gonna trick any of the umpires right there. Yeah, really don't even hear it.
Well, that first look, it definitely was redirected.
Sure, it was
from the toe.
Here, watch this. This is the one right here. Watch the redirect. Yep, right off the top of the big toe, top of the shoe. You know, it's so funny, Rich. Back in the day, you know, you put a lot more shoe polish on your shoes, and a lot of times you would have these conversations with an umpire. The umpire would say, "Let me see the baseball. I want to see if there's some shoe polish on the baseball from your shoes." But you know, today's shoes, they don't have to do that as much. They hold their color much more. You don't see too many guys. They get cleaned every night and they get wiped down, but they don't get polished like they used to.
It's a great moment in an old World Series, and I forget which one, but it feels like it was the Orioles and the Reds back in the early 70s.
There you go.
Yep, he was hit, and so Telis takes his base. So the call's overturned. Successful challenge. And that gets Ichiro to the plate.
Marlins are going to get their first base runner.
Minute and 2 seconds on the review. The 1969 World Series. So I was off by a year or two. And that was Mets and Orioles. Ichiro goes after the pitch and drills it to right center field. Goodwin in the vicinity makes the catch. Miami leaves a runner and scoreless start here in DC.
Turns out that the Nationals are actually the 4th baseball team to play in our nation's capital. The first ever team was the Washington Senators. Welcome back to Nationals Park, where it is a Twitter and email Tuesday. Tonight's special hashtag is DC Baseball, and we're going to kick things off with a little bit of a history lesson. It turns out that the Nationals are actually the 4th baseball team to play in our nation's capital. The first ever team was the Washington Senators that came about in 1891. That was followed by the 2nd Washington Senators that eventually became the Minnesota Twins. They were followed by the 3rd Washington Senators that eventually turned into the Texas Rangers, and now the Nationals are here today in DC, and as we know, they were originally the Montreal Expos. Guys, how's that for a history lesson on a Twitter and email Tuesday?
That is, you're right. There were 3 incarnations of Senators, and now you got the Nationals. Adam Lynn knocks it into center. Yelich almost came too close and had to go up and get it. Somewhat of a sheepish grin and a point toward Ichiro to say, I had it all the way.
That's right. It's good to be tall and have long arms along with it. I don't want to call it a misread. Adam Lynn absolutely hit this ball very, very hard. Had a nice route, but sometimes get that glove up quick enough, it get over your head in a hurry. Nice catch.
Well, in our quest for a theme tonight with DC Baseball, one of the questions that was sent out on Twitter is your favorite player in DC history. We already have a few Justin Bour votes. Of course, Bour played his college ball nearby at George Mason. Frank Howard was the slugger in the 60s that had many of those long home runs at the old RFK, which actually is still standing, believe it or not. Rendon takes outside. The soccer team still plays at RFK, but not for long. Right behind this ballpark, they are building a new soccer stadium, and the first row of seats went in the other day, and you can see it from the very back of the press box when you look out towards the river and towards Reagan Airport and the Pentagon. You can see the new soccer stadium on this side of the river. It's scheduled to be completed by the spring of next year. I'm not sure what they're going to do with RFK, but I'm sure a lot of people have a good suggestion. To right, Stanton over. And he makes the catch. Now, how important, Todd, are the edges for Vance Worley?
No, they're of the utmost importance. Let's go back to his last start and watch the number of pitches that we see right on that yellow line. That's called working the edges. And we think back to the first inning and a few of the pitches he didn't get. Well, that could have been a dangerous proposition tonight. That's where Vance Worley lives. You see it right there. Edge, edge, inside, outside. Again, throws a lot of fastballs. Doesn't have this vast secondary arsenal where he gets a lot of swing and misses. So it is a lot about contact. That great last start he had 16 ground ball outs. That was the storyline after the game. It wasn't the 3 strikeouts he had. So living on the edge is very important for Worley. And so far tonight, he's been able to pick up a few outs at the top of the strike zone.
Wilmer Defoe at the plate. By the way, many on Twitter and even someone back in our studios, Met fans, have chimed in on that 69 incident. Cleon Jones, the victim of getting hit in the shoe, and it was Gil Hodges who had to come out and ask the umpires to look for the shoe polish many years before instant replay. So tip of the cap to Roy and to Craig M. in Fort Lauderdale.
That's right. Thank you, Craig M. Wilmer Defoe swinging a hot bat. 2 for 3 last night. Runs scored. 5 for his last 11. 327 over his last 14 games.
Worley thought he had a strikeout there, and he did. This has been so far an unsteady night for Manny Gonzalez.
Well, for Manny Gonzalez, the strike zone appears to be up. He's not giving the low strike nearly as much, and ones that are clearly inside the box. You look at the top of the strike zone, he's been able to pick up a few strikes there. Both pitchers have. That's a dangerous proposition for Worley, who loves the ball on the ground. He does not want to be living at the top of the strike zone all night long. This is a fly ball hitting team, this Nationals team. Worley does not want to get 16 fly ball outs, I can promise you that.
3-2. Well, look, it adds workload. Just look at this at bat. He's had to throw 3 more pitches since. And it adds anxiety when you lose a hitter and you get guys on base. The challenge for a guy like Worley is to overcome that.
Well, that's his game plan tonight. Now, he may pick up a few strikes at the top of the zone, but he cannot live up there.
Pitch is in. And so Defoe walks, so they'll bring up Lobaton.
As we showed you his last start and living on the edge, really struggling to get a few calls go his way right now. So you see some frustration.
Got a tweet from Jared who wants to know, can you ask the crack staff the combined distance of Stanton's home runs and the comparison to that of Judge? Well, since they haven't, they don't have the same number of home runs, it's probably better to do average distance. And so Alex Horowitz is our baseball historian here tonight, and he has dug into the data. Runner goes, pitches low. Real Muto's throw is not in time. Defoe with a stolen base. Huge jump.
Yeah, and that's the key. We've seen that over the last couple of weeks. A few different base stealers picking up some stolen bases. Almost a quick sneak attack against the pitcher on the mound. And Defoe clearly does that right there. Vance Worley gets right back into his motion and delivers, almost like he forgot that Defoe was over there.
Lobaton is not the most dangerous hitter in terms of average, but when he runs into one, it'll go a long ways. 4 homers in 33 games.
Yeah, 7 of his 16 hits have gone for extra bases.
Roller out to short. Rojas around it. Fires to first. Talise bobbled. Did he hold it? Safe at first. There's nobody at second right now. Gordon is headed in that direction. The Nationals are going to end up with runners at the corners. And the pitcher, A.J. Cole, is coming up. Let's take a look.
Rojas double clutches as he comes across. This becomes a long hop in the dirt.
Oh,
That's an out. If he would have held it under his arm.
it stuck there, and then when he reached for it, it kind of got loose again. You know, if you have the transfer rule here, remember that double play the other day.
Right.
The difference is it's his armpit instead of the interior of the glove.
But would you agree if he holds it there, comes off the bag, and sells it with the ball underneath, I think he's out. It's when he lets the ball kind of come down again and the ball starts to move as it resets that he lost the call.
I would agree. And remember the pitch that Worley didn't get that should have been strike 3 that had plenty of the plate, was above the knees. And since then now the pitches are piling up and the Nationals at the corners with 2 outs.
Well, Vance Worley has got to bear down right here.
Real Muto will pick it up and fire to first to get the out. So Worley gets out of trouble. The workload increased. And a scoreless ball game in D.C.
Of the Miami Marlins. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and the descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins.
Back in Washington, D.C., Vance Worley adjusting the glasses and the helmet. When he got to the dugout, Don Mattingly came over, and look, we're in no position to read lips, but my guess would be, hey, you're getting squeezed, but don't change anything right now. Marlins are well aware. Both dugouts in this day and age with all the video understand the strike zone with the strike box and the technology, and so word gets out to the dugout pretty quickly.
Right. Well, you also have to remember, Vance Worley's arsenal is a little bit different. He doesn't overpower. He doesn't blow guys away. He does pitch to contact more often than a lot of other guys who are out there. But the point is this, his game plan doesn't change whether he gets the call or not. He needs those ground balls. He has to commit to the low zone because he throws 91, 92 miles an hour at times. He can't pitch up at the top of the zone or he's going to get turned around.
Miguel Rojas. And you got Vance Worley and D. Gordon. A.J. Cole has looked sharp. And Cole misses in. Cole's one of those guys. You see Rojas's numbers coming in. He's dipped under 300. Had a night off last night.
They did have a pinch hit single late against Doolittle, so hopefully that carries over into today's ball game.
Cole's one of those guys where you originally draft him, then you trade him, then you want him back. And that's exactly what the Nationals did. He was a national draft pick, 4th round, and then he went to Oakland in the trade that netted Gio Gonzalez back here in D.C. Nationals got him back in the Michael Morse trade, and they sent Morse to Oakland.
Well, his confidence is much higher than it was his last time. Of course, that was against the Marlins. You see the command and the control when he feels like he's getting a little off his game. You saw it right there. He's taking a deep breath and pausing.
Roller to third, Rendon to first. And A.J. Cole, the native of Oviedo, Florida, it's just outside of Orlando, looks sharp here tonight. He got to the big leagues in 15, made 8 starts last year, and makes start number 3 for the Nationals here tonight. Sun setting in D.C. And here is Worley, who can swing the bat. Marlins have used him as a pinch hitter a few times. He takes a fastball out. All right, the question about Stanton and Judge and home run distance. As I noted, Alex ran the numbers. Stanton's average home run distance 416.5. Judge's average distance 415. So they're neck and neck.
It's pretty amazing. Both absolute beasts.
Worley flips it foul and out of play. And that was Jared with the tweet.
Suppose we shouldn't be surprised they're only a foot apart on average.
Maria wants Jess to dress in a more sporty fashion. She was looking really sporty today in her Fox Sports quarter zip at Walter Reed Hospital. I'll tell you that. There's on the way Defoe to first. We haven't seen her wear the Fox Sports jacket on the air though. But we're quite happy with her. Maria, we appreciate the suggestion. She's won numerous awards actually in the last couple of years for baseball fashion.
Rich, you mentioned that sporty Fox Sports.
There it is.
Zip up.
And it's a full zip. I was wrong. Not a quarter zip.
Oh, it's a full zip.
There it is. And so this is going to make Maria quite happy. She likes the sporty look. Yeah.
It's a full zip. There you go.
Hey, Jess, we've also had a few folks from Jacksonville saying that they miss you tonight.
Aw, that's nice.
Yes.
I miss all of my Jax people as well. Love you, Jacksonville. You'll always be home.
0-1 pitch to D. Gordon. And that Jacksonville note is from Charlie. Charlie's a Nationals fan who grew up in D.C., lives in Jacksonville, usually watches the Nationals telecast, and every now and then watches the Nationals opponents telecast. And is giving nice props to you, Todd, and to Jess. Cursory compliment to me. And says, thank you for treating my home team with respect. And say hi to Jess. We miss her in Jacksonville. There's a 2-1.
Okay.
So these are two guys that are Orlando area guys, D. Gordon and A.J. Cole.
So far tonight, what was a weakness for A.J. Cole has become somewhat of a weapon. He's commanded the lefties in the Marlins lineup so far. As we had mentioned into tonight's ball game, they absolutely were all over Cole his last start in Miami. Coming into this one, 6 walks against left-handed hitters against 1 strikeout.
2-2 to D. That foul tip goes to the screen. A lot of injury update questions about certain players. Justin Bour is a popular question. That's Ed from West Palm Beach. I think the injury for Bour was about a month at the least. So you're looking at, if all goes well, early September. Gordon, a little tapper out towards second, and it's kicked. Sanchez knew he had to hurry. Gordon was streaking up the line, and a scorekeeper's decision on hit or error. Let's take a look.
Now D. Gordon flying down the line. As you mentioned, Sanchez knows this is a do or die play, has to come up with it. They're going to give him an error on the play. I think that's the right call.
The importance of it is that Stanton gets an at bat with a runner at first base. And of course, D would love to get out and get motoring.
Well, he was able to reach first at bat, first inning a week ago. Stanton drove him in with a laser beam double to right center field in Miami. That did jumpstart the Marlins offense. Stanton has been very much locked in on this road trip.
Lobaton has thrown out just 18% of base runners. D has a sizable lead. Now the right side of the infield is vacant. There's nobody there.
They're just absolutely giving it to him. But if Stanton can give you one of those classic exit velocity low line drives, you may see it get all the way to the outfield wall in right center field.
And of course, the combination of the shift and the fact that Gordon's at first and Zimmerman's holding the runner, that really opens up the right side. C.B. Buckner's the only guy over there, and he doesn't have a glove.
Tell you what, Cole better be real careful, because if he throws one away past Zimmerman, it wouldn't put it past D. Gordon. I would expect him to be to third. He may have a shot at home. There's no second baseman over there.
Stanton pops it up back behind second base. Sanchez is there, and he makes the catch. Miami leaves a runner. This ball game still scoreless. Florida is brought to you by Jeep, by Vico Painting Contractors. Find out more at vicopainting.com. By your local Toyota dealers. Let's go places. And by Southwest, transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. All the monuments and memorials getting their last look at the sun. 80 degrees at game time here. Gorgeous night in Washington, D.C. The Marlins have been coming here ever since they opened up this ballpark. And it seems like forever that they've been renovating that Capitol building. But it looks like the renovations are done. It really is a cool look as the sun sets. You get that orange glow. One of the highlights of my trips here was probably about 6 years ago. Jeff Conine was on the trip. Jeff, of course, played in Baltimore. Niners connected with everybody. He got us a secret tour up the rotunda to the top of the Capitol building.
Really?
Where you literally could come out on the top in a little walkway up there. It's only for guys like Conine, apparently. But Jeff was kind enough to bring us along.
Well, what's up there?
You know, the really
You
cool.
can't tell me, can you?
The really cool thing is, on the way up there, people have signed their names, and it goes back a long time.
Really?
Yes. 2-1. Ichiro. Not going to get it. That's all the way off the wall. And Brian Goodwin muscles up and opens up the third with a double.
Well, Goodwin won for his last 18. Changes that on a two-seam fastball. You see him drive it the other way. No surprise it's an extra base hit. That's now 32 extra base hits of the 55 he's got on the season. So extra bases is right up his alley. It's for power, it's for doubles, triples, and homers.
This is the second time through for Worley and the Nationals.
I'm never one for going back and replaying that bottom of the second inning.
There's a bunt. Dietrich's going to have to go to first in time. Sanchez moves a runner. And that gives Harper an opportunity with a runner at third and just one out.
Well, one of the things that you notice, Rich, and you go back to the end of the second inning, as we talked about, that one pitch, Wilmer Difo ends up walking right, then Lobaton reaches on an error. Well, Cole comes up and the inning ends, but he makes the last out. Little tapper, JT pops out from behind home plate. But Vance Worley was in position to use the bottom of the lineup to start this third inning. What ends up happening, yeah, he gets the out with Cole, but now he finds himself in this situation. Goodwin leads off with a double. Harper's up with a runner at third and less than 2 outs.
Harper above Major League average on scoring this run. Miami's infield is back. Dietrich off the bag and even at third. That ground ball, sliding stop. Gordon flips to first in time, and Harper is out, but the Nationals have the run. RBI number 83. And it brings up Zimmerman with 2 outs. Remember our friend the Brit, we suggested that for batting practice he get out maybe in the left field seats or the Budweiser balcony. Tom in Jupiter wants to know, since when have fans been able to watch batting practice? I thought it was for season ticket holders only. Please clarify. Swing and a miss. It is. Well, the Marlins hit about 4:30. Season ticket holders can get in early to watch batting practice. The gates open at 5:30, so you'll catch the visitors' batting practice, and that's standard across baseball. They make the big announcement here that the gates to Nationals Park are open at 5:30. So that's the best time to catch a ball in batting practice is if you get there at 5:30, you'll get the visitors BP. Liner first, caught by Talise. And he makes the grab, but the Nationals are on the board. 3 innings in. It's 1-0. Very cool thing that the Nationals do. The Wounded Warriors who are here tonight sit behind home plate, and today the Marlins, both players, coaches, manager Don Mattingly, and broadcasters, those of us from Fox Sports Florida, went to Walter Reed Hospital, and we saw many Wounded Warriors. Christian Yelich, of course, his brother in the military. It was really a very cool experience. There were two groups of us. We split up. We got to go to an oncology ward, the cancer ward. We saw a lot of patients, military, undergoing chemotherapy. And then we went down to the rehab center, which is expansive and vast and impressive. And you see all the Wounded Warriors who are dealing with just devastating injuries, working their way back, working hard in the gym. And the Marlin players, guys like Yelich, Real Muto, they come away from that experience. It's just such great perspective on what overcoming adversity is really like in the real world.
Well, it humbles you, and it certainly really pulls at your heartstrings when you get to spend a little bit of time with them. They are so very grateful that you take the time to come see them.
Yelich bounces out. On our way out with the big bus that pulled out, our tour guide addressed the group, thanked the group, and also told the Marlins group that that's the biggest group from a major league team that has been to Walter Reed. So not only players, but a salute to the coaching staff. Manny Colon, Marlins director of team travel, set it up. You were there, Todd. I was there. Jessica Blaylock was there. John Solser, our producer from Fox Sports Florida.
And might I add this, as you mentioned, the attendance being as strong as it was, and it was just a special 2.5 hours. I was quite impressed with the job that the players did policing themselves and the importance of what today was and communicating that to each other. I was privy just by accident to a few different conversations, no need to name names, but the accountability that they had towards each other and the importance of being there today, making sure that the Marlins organization not only was well represented, but that a lot of players were there. And it was almost like there was a little bit of a roll call. And I'll tell you what, I've never been part of an organization where that actually has happened. I've done a few of these things as a player in my lifetime, but I was very impressed with how few of the leaders on this team really handled the player attendance part of this.
There were armloads of baseballs, and there was like 7 or 8 cases of Major League Baseball's T-shirts as well. And every soldier that came up got an autograph, got a baseball, got a shirt, and got to meet the Marlins. Realmuto swings and misses, counts 2-2. A.J. Cole has looked sharp in this one.
He really has. 2-seam, 4-seam fastball, slider combination. Occasional changeup every now and again, but just when a Marlins hitter's thinking a good fastball's coming his way, he's thrown that breaking ball. Both Worley and Cole have really been able to stick to the game plan, regardless of the way the strike zone may have played out early.
3-2 is fouled, and a lot of stuff goes flying off. The shoulder pad from the catcher's vest. Watch this on the right side. Pow.
They made it all the way to the backstop. I think
that's impressive.
I was impressed by the distance. I'm not sure what that was. Now we know.
By the way, the guy that impressed me the most was the 84-year-old amputee.
Dan the Man?
Wearing the T-shirt that said Dan the Man, and he lost his leg when he was 25, and he's 84 now. He took us through the history of prosthetics, and,
yes,
and he showed us his leg and all the computer chips in it. Very cool.
I'll tell you what.
And a big baseball fan. He knew all about the Nationals.
Right.
He had seen a little bit of last night's game.
Well, I love the fact that Dan felt there was an accountability to not, just his own rehabilitation, but the rehabilitation of others. I mean, he referred to himself as the grandfather to even some of the other amputees that were in there, and the relationships that they all had. They said, yeah, don't talk to me about sorry, don't talk to me about pity, and that's kind of the mindset that's around the rehab center.
Don't feel sorry for yourself and don't get fat. That's what he said was his best advice to the young soldiers in there. Tomorrow it's game 3. Remember, this is a 4-game stay in D.C. South Florida Honda dealers get you going. 6:30 for Marlins Live. Craig Minervini and Jeff Nelson. Adam Conley, Gio Gonzalez. That's a tasty matchup. Of course, Gio Gonzalez, the last time he faced the Marlins, had 8 no-hit innings. And that emotional night at Marlins Park.
There's the potential for a quick one tomorrow night. You think how fast both those guys like to work.
Derek Dietrich at the plate. Marlins still without a hit in this ball game. The Nationals have 2.
Baseball, a funny game. You always think advantage goes to the hitter. When you see a pitcher 2 times in a row, you see his arsenal, you see him again. We talk about managing that 3rd time through the lineup, even in a ball game. So you'd say in back-to-back starts, there would be a huge advantage. But so far tonight, advantage pitchers. Only 2 hits in the ball game.
I think everybody felt Scherzer was going to pitch well tomorrow, last night.
Well, he's immune to that. Everything I just said, so don't include him in that.
Dietrich sends that one down the line and deep and foul. Emails and tweets tonight. Louis wants to know, where is Craig? We would have known that Cleon Jones answer. Craig's in studio tonight. Louis is voting for a computer strike zone. It's coming. It's probably 5 to 7 years down the line is my guess. Here's a 1-2. Derek Dietrich, right field and deep and gone. And Dietrich ties the game with a 2-out homer here in the 4th. And the first hit for Miami is a long ball, and Dietrich continues a really nice 2-week ride.
Yeah, that slugging percentage continues to go up for Derek Dietrich. It's a slider down by his knees. Oh, his 2nd home run. He's got 2 hits against Cole for the last 2 starts. 2 home runs, very similar to the one in Miami. There's a slider. Yeah, that's right. 1 hard step, break it down. There you go. Yeah, you got all of that one, Derek. Bryce Harper 1 step back, and he let it go as well.
Tomas Talis takes a breaking ball from Cole. And the count is 0-1. Well, the left-handed bats was something that we highlighted for the Marlins tonight against Cole. And of course, Dietrich homered against him earlier this week.
Talking to Frank Menechino before the ball game, the game plan didn't change, especially with the lefties. The idea is to get the fastball out over the plate. He throws a lot of good sliders, but he's young. As Frank kind of expressed to me, he goes, he's going to hang a few sliders tonight. There's going to be some hittable ones that we should be able to wrap our barrels around. I think that last home run from Dietrich's a pretty good example. Kind of spun up there and sat on a table right there on the inside part of the plate.
You know that saying, you got to make the play. Any way you make the play, just make it.
Right.
Watch this kid who's got French fries with ketchup on it. He lost his fries, ketchup on his face, and he's got the ball. And a selfie. Very nice.
Well, hey, you can always replace the fries. You can't replace the ball.
That actually looked like strike 3. It was. That one up against the edge of the plate.
I didn't see it. I was looking at the fry guy.
It's quite the play, though, right? Knock it down, make a play.
That's right. Come up with the ball.
That one fouled back out of play. And I'm sure right now our tape room and the Nationals tape room and their production truck are searching for alternate views of Fry Guy.
Ketchup was all over the side of his face. He must have been mid-bite.
I think in Major League Baseball, that's a foreign substance. I don't think that's. You can't put
ketchup.
Can't put that on the ball. Actually, it's probably a domestic substance and comes from the Heinz company in Pittsburgh, right?
Yeah. Most stadiums have plenty of it, so we can always go get more.
(3-2). Not sure how he hit that, but he got a piece of a breaking ball which was headed into the dirt.
Talise is finding a way to foul off just about everything Cole's throwing at him. Two-seam fastball at his hands, fouled it off. A low slider, 82 miles an hour, got a little piece. Let's see if he can't get something he can handle a little better.
Well, remember with Worley on a pitch that should have been called strike 3, he didn't give up a run that inning, but it extended him to another dozen or so pitches.
Turned the inning over as well.
That pitch that's hanging on the inside corner up there was called a ball, and that's extended this at bat for Talise. And so Cole has had to spend some energy here, and Talise gladly adds to the pitch count, which is now at 73 here in the top of the 4th inning.
I always find it interesting. It's not throwing the changeup. Kind of shows you how much, or maybe how little, he trusts that changeup. Did show it in the 1st inning, but he hasn't shown it since.
And he walks. And so Talise walks. And he arrives at first. Ballpark pass on your mobile device. So phone. I wonder if it fits on the watch. Probably.
Maybe. All right, we'll find out. My battery's dead, so we'll have to wait.
$29.99 a month. You get the ballpark pass, and it gets you every home game for the rest of the year. So August and then September. Restrictions apply. Go to Marlins.com, ballpark pass. Keep your ticket on your device. Mound visit. Mike Maddox, a pitching coach. Back to the emails. Gary, our British friend, answered. His nephew is 15, so no Clevelander for him. And he will leave his cricket bat at home.
See the workload for Cole here in the 4th inning. 27 pitches and counting. Jumped up that pitch count for the ball game. So now sits at 74. Ichiro steps into the box. Fly ball to center field, his first time up.
And as you noted with the Nationals, when Worley should have been out of the inning, it accelerated the lineup back up, and that's
right
where the Nationals got their run. And the same thing's happening here. This brings Stanton, Yelich, and Real Muto a little bit closer to coming around again to face Cole. Ichiro holds up on that fastball. It's 2-1.
It's always very interesting how a baseball game is woven together. We look at pitches all the time and we see pitches that get missed, and one thing leads to another, and a lot of times it does. It's just the extension of the game, and even can tax a pitcher in the number of times he's got to face the top of that lineup.
And a strike. 2-2. Derek Dietrich with a home run in a 1-1 ball game. Outfield playing Ichiro towards left center. Ichiro hits a ground ball to Sanchez, who gets the outs. But with 2 outs, Derek Dietrich went out. His 7th of the season. Very nice.
U.S. monetary system on this day in 1786, and he's celebrating by handing out, wait a minute, those are fake, those aren't real, George takes off, and the winner's gonna be George!
So that, I guess, in George's day was the equivalent of making it rain, right? With the dollar bills that weren't legit. Counterfeit dollar bills. George wins the president's race. Adam Lynn hits a fly ball out. Lots of stuff happening here in D.C. A Derek Dietrich homer has tied the game 1-1. Vance Worley following up his best start by far in a long time. Remember last year he was in the bullpen for the Baltimore Orioles.
The Marlins very happy with his stubbornness so far tonight. See, what in the world is he talking about? Stubbornness? Well, that's right. He hasn't gotten away from the game plan, even though the strike zone a little different tonight.
Anthony Rendon. And Rendon swings and misses. Strikes a pose. Ben is in Evans, Georgia, watching tonight. Hi, Ben. How are you? Ben grew up within walking distance of the Orange Bowl. And he knows that Marlins Park is where the Orange Bowl used to be. He's curious to know if there's any parts of the Orange Bowl at Marlins Park. Well, there's a few things. There's a section with some great, it's kind of a corner out by Taste of Miami with great vintage photos, pictures, a lot of the history of the Orange Bowl. And then the letters, you know, those big, the Orange Bowl, iconic Orange Bowl sign. There are replicas of those letters. They used to sit above the scoreboard when you saw the shot of the downtown skyline when Don Criqui and Bob Trumpy were calling Orange Bowls. Anyways, those letters, replicas of, are used in a display for the east entry or the east area, the steps, the plaza on the east side, right outside the Cleveland. So there you go, Ben. And thanks for joining us from Evans, Georgia tonight. Wilmer Defoe's up. Vance Worley striking out Rendon. It's a swing and a strike, and it's 0-1. Yeah, I know. Keys says, hey, a selfie is when you take a picture of yourself, not when someone else takes a picture of you. I jumped the gun on that. I thought Ketchup Boy was going to take a selfie, and it was actually someone taking a photograph of him.
Well, partner, we knew what you meant.
There he is. Look at that. See, I got over 1,000 likes.
Famous. That's right.
So now, if he takes a picture here, then I'm okay, right?
Well, who's to say he's not?
Now, do you think obviously the ketchup stains are still present on his Bryce Harper T-shirt?
Sure are.
A liner into center field. Defoe is on for the second time. And Vance Worley now goes after Jose Lobaton. Hialeah's own Gio Gonzalez.
Proud papa.
He is the daddy, that's right, for the second time.
Congratulations to he and his family.
He's been the Marlins daddy too, right? In his career.
We'll go there tomorrow. How about not today?
He has dominated the fish, and obviously flirting with a no-hitter his last time out.
There's definitely been some ownership, if you will.
Lobaton can't hold up. Worley's pitch count at 59, and he's got 2 outs here in the bottom of the 4th. Felipe wants to know, you guys think Stanton will end up with 50 or 60 homers by the end of the season? Tony, if you saw Marlins Live, there was a really nice feature Jessica Blaylock put together of predictions from the Marlins clubhouse. That one's going to find the outfield. Yelich circles it, has it. Defoe on his way to third. And Lobaton has a hit. And now, for the second time, Worley's going to have to get the pitcher with 2 men on to end an inning.
Well, similar approaches between Defoe and Lobaton. You seen fastball running away and staying on it and driving it the other way. The ball hit terribly hard, but the right spot in center field. Nationals, they've now set it up again, just like they did in the second inning. Runners on first and third, but 2 outs.
Cole tapped out in front of the plate. I know that's a UFC term, but it used to be the sole property of baseball. Real Muto pounced on it and threw him out at first base.
Well, you guess what? He'd like for him to tap out again.
And a strike, and it's 1-1. By the way, for those of you that did not see Marlins Live pregame and you want to see that feature with the Marlin teammates predicting where Stanton might end up, tweet to Craig. Craig Minervini's on Twitter, and request that for Marlins Live postgame, because Craig does have some editorial control over the show.
How much?
He'd have a lot more if he brought donuts on a Sunday morning. But he does have some editorial control. So send Craig some tweets. Request that feature.
Gets back to the donuts every time.
Request that feature on Marlins Live postgame tonight. 2-1 pitch coming to Cole. Little looper, right field. Stanton charging. Got it. Foul territory. Nice play. Nifty footwork. And really nice work in the truck, right? Big Stanton sexy graphic. Big sexy Stanton catch. It's 1-1. It's how we roll.
using that special hashtag DC Baseball. Now, when you mention DC Baseball, you have to mention the legendary Josh Gibson. Gibson is not only considered to be one of the best power hitters of all time, he is also one of the best catchers of all time. He played for the Washington Homestead Grays, and he led them to 8 of 9 Negro National League titles from 1937 through 1945. Then in 1972, Josh Gibson became only the second Negro League player to ever be inducted into the National Baseball Hall of Fame.
I'll tell you what, Jessica, if you ever watched Ken Burns' series on baseball, there's a great sequence when the great Buck O'Neill is talking about great sluggers. And he's talking about players that he's seen in his lifetime. And he started with Babe Ruth. And he said, when he saw Babe Ruth, he said the sound that came off his bat was different than anything he's ever heard.
Right.
He heard that same sound, he said, when he saw Josh Gibson. He heard the same sound, I believe it was Henry Aaron, but I'm not sure. And I think the last one was Bo Jackson. And that was at the time where they, and I'm sure if Buck had lived long enough and had a chance to watch Giancarlo Stanton take batting practice, I'm sure he would have added him to the list.
I agree.
Because the sound the ball off Stanton's bat makes and the distance he has, pretty unbelievable. That's the Washington theme on our email and Twitter Tuesday. Fastball starts the at bat of Miguel Rojas. 1-1 ball game in the 5th. Derek Dietrich's homer, the only run for the Marlins. Nationals got a run on a Bryce Harper ground ball out. We present now, for those of you looking for some dinner plans, or at least we'll do it in a moment. Got a few things to get through. We have an all-time Washington team assembled here in the booth, thanks to Alex Horowitz, our baseball historian. And a line drive into right field. That's a base hit. All right, for those of you thinking about something for dinner, here's our Bonefish Grill catch of the night.
Why don't we take one more look at it? Big fly ball out at the end of last inning. Yeah, Stanton gets a great jump. Now remember, he's playing in and over. It's what you want to do with the pitcher hitting, so you get a clear advantage right there. But gets a great break, sees the ball off the bat, able to go way into foul territory and get a huge out. That's a big, big play for Vance Worley and for the Marlins. They keep this thing at 1-1 here in the top of the 5th inning.
Worley will be bunting. And he takes inside. Rojas aboard with a single. Top of the order, D. Gordon and then Stanton. And Worley trying to deliver Rojas to scoring position. So 3 times there were Washington Senators in this city. The Homestead Grays, who've established that, and obviously the Nationals since '05. Good bunt. Cole goes to first and gets the out. So here's the all-time team as assembled by our baseball historian who lives here in Washington. In the outfield, he's got Cool Papa Bell, Frank Howard, Goose Goslin, Sam Rice, and Bryce Harper. Buck Leonard is his choice at first base. Daniel Murphy and Buddy Meyer share second base. Joe Cronin at shortstop. With maybe a nod to Ian Desmond in some of the years that he had here. Judd Wilson and Ryan Zimmerman at third base, and Josh Gibson behind the plate. Walter Johnson, Steven Strasburg, Max Scherzer, Alvin Crowder, Dutch Leonard, and Ray Brown. Griffith Stadium, the old ballpark here. Gordon bunts and rolls it foul. And then, of course, RFK. Weren't the Senators in the 60s managed by Ted Williams? Before they moved to Texas, Williams moved with them but didn't last long as a manager. Jim has an email that reminds us that the Washington Senators used to hold spring training in Pompano Beach from 1961 to 71. Jim is also lobbying for a live cut-in of the Guns N' Roses concert. I believe you can find that on the alternate Fox Sports Florida channel tonight.
Might be on right now, is what you're saying. Now Cole has D. Gordon set up. Out of the count 0-2. A couple of fastballs away. Trying to get that slider up and under those hands.
Gordon knocks it into left field. That's a base hit. Rojas to third. A late start for Rojas. And the throw is cut. Miguel trying to read that ball off the bat. You don't want to get doubled up at second. Here's a look.
Well, a mistake pitch from Cole. That's the third consecutive time. Lobaton really wanted to get in under D's hands. Not able to do it. So on an 0-2 pitch, a two-seam fastball that tailed back out over the middle, D lines it into left. It's a good swing right there. A little too hard to Rojas in from third base, but we'll set up the big guy. Giancarlo Stanton steps into the box at a pivotal point in this ballgame.
It's going to be interesting to see how the Nationals line their infield up here. Obviously, they're looking for a double play. They've been extreme shifting Stanton to the third base side with all the infielders except Zimmerman over there. And once again, you've got Gordon at first that essentially pins Zimmerman to the line. And Sanchez this time is just on the first base side of second.
Alan Cole's last start against the Marlins erupted for a 4 spot in the 5th inning.
Stanton drills one left field. Oh my goodness, out of here. 3-run shot. The big man has hit 38 this year, and the Marlins have a 4-1 lead. That is a new career high for Stanton.
Well, as many of his home runs have been this season, no doubt about it. Holy cow, let me tell you something. The meetings that have been going on this inning, the mistakes that have been made, including this first pitch out over the plate to Giancarlo Stanton. He absolutely unloads the left center field. Just a few rows short of the brew house. Wow.
And he is fired up. Here is Yelich, and he takes down low. Boy, what a road trip. He laid waste to SunTrust Park with a home run display there. He homered last night.
Partner, you know that lane I talk about all the time? That's the lane. That is a great example of the lane where Stanton has, for the last, I don't know, 3 weeks or so, owned.
And as I was talking about that sound, listen. Buck O'Neil would add that to his list of the guys in his lifetime where the ball off the bat is just a very different sound.
If you think right now that you're going to get a strike underneath his hands on the inner third of the plate, now I'm talking about a strike, I'm not talking 6 inches inside, you're kidding yourself. 4.38 on the return.
I actually think that's a little short, little light, but you know what? It counts for 3 runs, so he'll take it. His average home run, as we discussed, 416.5 feet, so that'll stretch that a little bit. Yelich foul tips it into the glove and strikes out.
You remember the day, Rich, the day that we saw Giancarlo Stanton's name in the 2 spot in the lineup for the first time? Get this, 27 home runs. Go ahead, we'll show you that board right there. That's the home run board. It's hot on the heels of Gary Sheffield. 2 spot of the lineup. This is his 64th game. 64. 27 homers, 53 RBIs.
Wow. Now, I think for sure on Marlins Live postgame, they'll have that feature tonight with all the Marlins in the clubhouse predicting where Stanton will end up this year. The most generous estimate, I believe, was Christian Yelich. Yelich with a straight face had 94. He said, I don't think he can hit 95, but 94 he can get.
If you were to, and I don't, again, don't play this game because it never goes this way, but if you were to prorate what he's done in the 2 spot over a full season, it's pretty close to 94.
Real Muto goes after a high fastball, pops it into shallow right center, and it's caught there by Sanchez. Giancarlo Stanton again, number 38. Since the All-Star break, he's hit a dozen. And his homer tonight gives Miami a 3-run lead. Inside Look brought to you by Toyota, the all-new RAV4. Comparing Bryce Harper and Giancarlo Stanton, 759 games into their careers, which is where Harper is. A 286 average for Harper, Stanton a little less average. The home runs, no contest. The RBIs, no contest. OPS, Harper has him there. All-star appearances. And they both have a Hank Aaron Award for the best offensive player of the year. That's a little pop that Rojas scrambles in to get. And Brian Goodwin is retired. Now Vance Worley's got a 3-run lead to work with. And this is his 3rd time through the Nationals order as Harper pulls in on deck.
Good start to the bottom of the 5th inning. One more comparable for you. Giancarlo Stanton, that's the 22nd game-tying or go-ahead home run this season. That is 5 more than 2nd place Bryce Harper. Stanton's home runs have really mattered for this Marlins ball club.
Adrian Sanchez getting the start at 2nd. Daniel Murphy off tonight. And Sanchez rips one in the gap. Ichiro and Yelich going after it. It hangs up along the wall. Ichiro's got it. Sanchez will hold at 2nd with a double. And the Nationals have something going here.
2nd hit in the ball game for Sanchez. So we're going to sacrifice. He squares that one up. A couple hops. It's going to make its way into the corner. Out left center field. Ichiro does a nice job reading it and getting it back in. That could have been a triple with a bad hop. See that little fence underneath where it hit. A lot of different ways.
So here's Harper, who's walked and knocked in a run with a ground ball out. Harper homered last night. In his last 18 games, 7 home runs. Worley comes in and gets a strike, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Vance Worley tonight, 69 pitches, an out here in the bottom of the 5th. Two walks, 2 strikeouts.
Vance Worley has done a very nice job controlling the middle of this Nats lineup. Both starts to this team, obviously his last 2 starts. His biggest weapon has been he has not fallen into patterns, variations with the fastball. You've seen the first 3 pitches of this at bat. Hard slider, 2-seam fastball, 4-seam fastball up, right back to it again.
Well, it's 3-1. You got Zimmerman on deck. First base is open. Got the strike. 3-2. Where do you go here?
He does not want to let Bryce Harper get his arms extended. He wants to see if Bryce Harper will chase out of the zone. You might see the 2-seam fastball back under his hands again, or something working its way down out of the zone.
They stayed low and missed.
Not looking for Bryce Harper to have another moment. He certainly didn't want to feed 151 in there. He's got the base open. Zimmerman has struggled against the Marlins of late. He's struggling again tonight. Expanded his strike zone a few different times. He's also a double play candidate. JT Realmuto out to the mound to talk to Worley about that. Juan Nieves is going to pop back out as well.
And of course, Zimmerman, as we've noted, has not had the best of starts to his second half, but still a dangerous guy, and a guy that has hit more home runs against the Marlins than any active player in the game.
One pitch that Zimmerman continues to chase, and he's shown it tonight, is the elevated fastball. Now, we've seen him at times turn that around, stay on top of it, drive it the other way, but he's been swinging through it tonight. His last at bat, he was down in the count 0-2. Really gave him something to hit just off the outer edge, but he hit it hard. Talise over at first base. So Willie's going to want to crowd him, maybe go back up top again and see if they'll get him to chase.
Busted bat, rolled to short. Rojas there. Gordon's turn in time. Vance Worley breaking bats, getting ground balls, and getting out of the bottom of the 5th. Nicely done. On to the 6th. 4-1 Miami. That's right, Craig. Thank you. Capitol building all lit up. Night has fallen here in D.C. Giancarlo Stanton has gone deep again. 74 degrees. Vance Worley in the dugouts. Nice double play. Delivers the game to the 6th. Derek Dietrich also homered tonight. And he takes out.
Home run came on a slider. Nice swing, and go down and work his way down to the bottom of the zone to get it.
Line drive caught there by Defoe. And so there's an out. Attention all Fish family season ticket holders. Renewal season is here. Don't miss out on the 25th anniversary of Marlins baseball next year. Learn more at marlins.com/renewals. Sammy Solis is on the mound. He takes over for A.J. Cole. Solis flips Tomas Telis over to the other side of the plate. The switch hitter takes strike one.
You see the big curveball there. Also has a big arm. Good fastball to go along with it. Not nearly the same type of season this year as he had last. See the big fastball. 95 miles an hour.
A.J. Cole goes 5 innings. 4 runs, 4 hits, 2 homers. Talise pops it. Back behind first. Zimmerman is there, makes the catch. Geico gives you an MLB moment with our Washington baseball theme. In 1931, Bobby Burke walked 5, struck out 8, and he no-hit the Red Sox. At Griffith. Is it Griffith Park or Griffith Stadium? Griffith Stadium. Fastball is up. They have a couple, I guess, different sets of names that are retired here. I like the fact that they have recognized some of the Montreal Expo greats, because this franchise here, of course, the former Expos. Gary Carter's name is up. Andre Dawson's name is up. No sign of Yuppie in the house.
No.
Just the racing presidents.
How did you even recall Yuppie? That's amazing.
Who could forget Yuppie?
Well,
Huh?
I don't know. I had forgotten Yuppie.
Ichiro is out. Nice play by Defoe. Solis goes 1-2-3. 4-1 Miami.
Email Tuesday here at Nationals Park with that special hashtag DC Baseball. Now, our nation's capital, obviously known for politics and sports, well, here is one man that combined both. Not only was Ronald Reagan the 40th president of the United States, but after he graduated from college back in 1932, he actually worked as a sports radio broadcaster for a little while. So a little fun fact there about Ronald Reagan. Keep those tweets and emails coming using that hashtag DC Baseball. Tweets can go to @Fox Marlins. Your emails can go to foxmarlins@gmail.com.
All right, thank you, Jessica. In Washington, D.C. tonight, 4-1 Miami. Vance Worley hit hard there by Linz into right. Stanton will gather it. This is the middle of the order for the Nationals. Lind is in the 5 spot. You've got Rendon and Defoe coming up. Worley trying to get through this, the 6th. He is 75 pitches in.
His pitch count, his pitch count pretty solid tonight. He's been rolling right now, rolling along against this Nationals lineup, executing pitches. Jumped in the first pitch right there by Lind. He's not a threat to run. The one thing, the difference between Worley and Cole tonight is Cole was going along. His pitch counts were rising from inning to inning. Worley's actually been getting better as this game has gone on. It's higher pitch counts you found early on. Also seems like the bottom of that strike zone started to open up a little bit more. I think that last pitch was a pretty good reflection of it.
That one misses. Back to the emails and the tweets. Dustin McGowan is getting loose. Jonathan wants to know, what's the most homers hit by one player in any 30-day stretch? There's a swing and a miss. The most home runs hit in a month would be Sammy Sosa. That was June of '98. He hit 20. A 30-day stretch from one date to 30 days later. Our baseball historian is working feverishly to find that.
24.
24. You think it's like Sosa or McGuire?
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. I think it's 24. Sounds like a good round number. That's my guess. Yeah, I do think it's a Sosa McGuire, but you add up a few days. Might even be Sammy again. 98. He's kind of doing what Stanton's been doing lately. Homering just about every day.
That one's driven off the bat of Rendon. Left center. Yelich squares up, makes the catch on the warning track. A long out. Adam Lind gets back to first. Some of your favorite superheroes will be celebrated on Friday, August 11th, Marvel Superhero Night. Special event ticket. You get a limited edition Hulk bobblehead for 6,000 fans. We'll receive an exclusive Marlins Avengers t-shirt. Get your tickets at marlins.com/special events. Rich Waltz, Todd Hollinsworth, Jessica Blaylock, John Sulzer, our producer, Christian Roberts, our critically acclaimed director, Ken Lee, our graphics coordinator, recently decorated himself.
Well, Wilmer Defoe, this is a tough spot. I don't want to say tough spot in that it's the bottom of the lineup, but they've had some success against Vance Worley. So with the runner on first base, that's really looking to bear down here. The ball on the ground. Defoe and Lobaton on base all 4 times tonight.
Yelich, good jump, closing speed, sliding catch. Christian Yelich in center field. Nicely done, and a big second out for Worley here in the 6th.
That's what I'm talking about. Getting a big out right there, and it picked up by his defense. Outs by Christian in center field. See the closing speed. See those long strides going, and able to get underneath this short pop into center field. Nicely done.
Yelich has made one error out there in center field. this year. He won a Gold Glove in left field a few seasons ago. There's Lobaton swinging and missing. In a season where the Marlins have had just an incredible hardship of injuries in their rotation, Vance Worley's getting an opportunity, and he's made the most of it in his last 2 starts. 8 innings of 2-hit shutout ball against these Nationals his last time out. Juan Nieves watching.
Certainly has been a lot of fun to watch. Vance has got good numbers against him in his career and continues to feed off. A pretty good pitch right there on that 2-seamer. That's the one pitch that seems to be frustrating Worley the most tonight. As you see, it catches just enough of the inside corner, but he's not getting it.
Count 3-2. I spotted him an inning. It was actually 7 innings of shutout baseball. And that start against the Nationals. Here he's trying to get through 6 and hang on to a 4-1 lead.
One thing you love about Worley is he comes out firing strikes, keeps the infield and the outfield on their toes and engaged and involved. I mentioned his last start, 16 ground ball outs.
Ground ball there. Gordon to first in time. 4-1 still to the 7th. Yeah, he's done it again tonight. Giancarlo Stanton with a 3-run homer. And Vance Worley with 6 terrific innings. And the reception he gets, Don Mattingly, yeah, he didn't want to shake his hand. That signals he's done for the night. And so Worley, even Real Muto there to greet him. So now Miami will try to add some insurance. 3 innings to go here in D.C. And Sammy Solis into his 2nd inning. Miguel Rojas, a pinch hitter, probably Tyler Moore. And then you got D. Gordon. If anybody reaches Giancarlo Stanton. Jose with this tweet. Do you think all the Aaron Judge talk during the All-Star break ignited a little fire in Giancarlo?
I don't think so. My personal opinion, I think Stanton has been highly motivated since day one. Continued to hear him talk going all the way back to spring training about his approach, about his desire, what he wanted to be this year. I certainly will admit this. When you get competition, as far as the national attention is concerned, I think that it's only natural to recognize what Judge has accomplished. But at the same time, I think Stanton has been on a mission this year to prove to everybody who he is and what he is in this game.
Saw him working with a tablet there. You can do that now in Major League Baseball. You can't have any transmission, whether cellular or wireless. But you can have plenty of video stored up. And you can have all your scouting reports in an orderly fashion without bubble gum and sunflower seeds on them. That's a walk. And that's going to put Rojas down to first. It's also going to bring the familiar T-Mobile jingle out of your television set or your surround sound. Mike Trout, 26th birthday. Have a party. 1,000th hit. Baltimore, though, is hot. They beat the Dodgers. Trevor Williams teamed up to one-hit the Tigers. Pirates are playing a little bit better. Dexter Fowler. Sorry, I had my Los Angeles teams incorrectly juxtaposed there as the Orioles beat the Angels. Now, what's your thoughts here? Solis talking it over with Lobaton. You've got Moore who's going to pinch hit.
I'm going to let Tyler Moore hit, especially if he continues to get Solis. Let's see. Pitching coach Greg Maddux is making his way out, and in fact, going to make the pitching change. He's already pointed to the Nats bullpen.
So Greg Maddux gets to make the change here. And the Nationals going to go to their bullpen. This is a Florida lottery called to the bullpen. That 4-1 Miami with nobody out in the 7th. Called to the pen, brought to you by the Florida Lottery. Get a $6 value for $5 when you ask for the grouper from the Florida Lottery with so many life-changing prizes. Get your grouper ready. The Florida Lottery, it's your ticket. Claim it. Must be 18 or older to play or to dance responsibly. Blanton's not had the best of years. You can see the ERA sits almost at 7. But he actually, out of the bullpen, has been, over the last few years, a pretty valuable commodity.
Well, he's become a little bit of a situational righty for Dusty Baker out of that Nats bullpen. Fastball, slider, curveball, change. Not going to blow you away. Doesn't possess a whole lot of velocity. Loves those secondary pitches. In fact, it's the slider curveball combination about 45% of the time.
Got Rojas at first. Gordon's on deck. And Miguel Chase back. Moore looking over his shoulder. I'm not sure if he was looking at Freddie Gonzalez or Anthony Rendon. Blanton figures he'll go over there again. I don't know if he's hoping to get some sort of a sign from Moore whether he's going to square or not. Moore hasn't budged yet.
I don't think Moore is going to tip that hand because I don't think he's bunting right here. 4-1 lead, 7th inning.
I have seen resourceful hitters in this spot who aren't going to bunt when a pitcher continues to do that, to actually square once the motion goes, just to
mess with him.
Yeah.
Is that what you're getting at? Yeah. I don't know if that's Tyler Moore's style. He's trying to work himself out of a little bit of a funk he's in. Really concentrating on the middle of the field in batting practice today.
That one's going to end up out on the infield, and Sanchez has it. So out here in the 7th, here's Gordon. Stanton is on deck. If you can't watch the games on television, take them with you in your mobile device and stream them live on Fox Sports Go. Download the app now, Fox Sports Go. D. Gordon 1 for 3. Shoots one down that left field line, and it's going to fall fair and bounce up into the seats. I think it was touched, and they're going to stop both runners. This is going to cost the Marlins a run in all likelihood because Rojas was streaming around third. A fan sitting down on the rail reached down and apparently touched the baseball. The umpires are going to get together right now, and they may be, I guess he touched it.
That's a hard one to read. CD Gordon stays inside it to left field. It's got that spin away from Lind. As you see, it sits inside the line, bounces up near that railing.
And you know what? They're going to let the run score. The umpires will allow that run to score. It's an umpire's discretion in that case. If they feel that the runner would score regardless. And now the Nationals just got wind of this, and Dusty Baker's not real happy. It is umpire's discretion. If they feel that the runner is clearly going to score, and Rojas was rolling right around third base.
Great read, Rich. That's exactly right. Rojas is flying around third base, and that becomes the read. As the ball is being touched, then Rojas is going to get awarded. Now watch Rojas. Good read. He knows that ball is down. He gets off on his horse.
And now Dusty Baker, this is a reviewable play, I believe. And it seems like Dusty is asking for a review. He is. And the other thing to note here, I don't think Dusty Baker is well tonight because Mike Maddox made the pitching change, and we've seen Dusty have some trouble getting up and moving in the dugout. He may be hurting. Now Mattingly wants to come out and find out what exactly the challenge is. So they called interference. So I don't think this is whether or not it was interfered. I think this is placement of runners.
Rojas hustling all the way. He's not waiting to find out if Lind can catch that ball. You see it. Freddie's sending him all the way. The question is, where is Rojas when they make the decision on whether there's interference or not?
Well, Major League Baseball and the umpires' headquarters in New York has a camera installed at every Major League park that is above everything and is able to, and we don't have, at least to my knowledge, we don't have access to this, and neither do the Nationals. And it is for this very occurrence, and that is the necessity to place runners on a trap or no trap or an interference. in a case like this. So here come the umpires. And they're going to put him back at third base. Now, wait a minute. No, they are going to score him. Yep.
Right.
They call interference, and they are awarding home plate. And that's from placing Rojas. Not only did the 4 umpires here do that, but the umpires in New York did it as well. And the Nationals are going to walk Stanton here. So Stanton arrives at first base. Let's take a look at Rojas and when the ball was touched. So the umpires feel if the ball was not touched, that Rojas was going to score.
Right, it's the discretion of the third base and home plate umpires. They're seeing this play develop, and what you see is that Freddie's sending him all the way. You see that Rojas is hustling all the way. And you've also got a fan that reaches over. It doesn't stop, and that's what fans at home need to understand. The play doesn't stop when the fan reaches over and touches that baseball. The play does continue.
Florida Lottery called to the bullpen. Nationals go to their pen. It's 5-1 Fish. Who's into the ball game for the Nationals. And Perez takes over. The Nationals intentionally walk Giancarlo Stanton. D. Gordon with the RBI doubles at second. Christian Yelich at the plate. You got JT Realmuto on deck. 1 out. The Marlins have another run. And a 5-1 lead here in D.C. Yelich is 0 for 3. And the fan who reached down and interfered with the ball is being escorted out of the ballpark.
Well,
or at least sent to the penalty box, I think. I'm not sure.
Keep your hands off the field. Pretty simple. Players understand that as a fan, you have the right to go after anything that's in the stands. But when you reach over and you affect the game on the field, it's a no-no.
All right, let me ask you this hypothetical. If they had ruled interference and he had not scored, he'd be a hero.
Well, and I think that's what needs to be avoided. I mean, that's the whole point.
I know.
Right.
2-0 pitch to Yelich. Perez a breaking ball for a strike.
It's not a home road thing. You just don't want to see fans affecting the outcome of the ball game and putting it in the, the hands of, hypothetically trying to read where Lind is, what play would have happened, or where was Rojas at this time. I mean, my personal opinion, that's the way it should go.
In that case, they need Ronald Reagan to recreate the games like he used to do.
Right now, he's piping his hand.
Yelich with the count 2-2. You can never have enough insurance against the Nationals, it feels like, especially in recent times. Yelich's pop-up should be playable there in foul territory. And Rendon makes a catch. So Ollie Perez gets an out.
Oliver Perez, he's going to throw it. He's going to throw you a fastball and a slider. He may give you an up and under. He might give you a little Louis Tiant. He's going to change up his mechanics and try to hide the baseball. You see those inherited runners. He's been very good about it this year and masks his fastball and slider very well. A lot of different arm angles and a lot of different looks. Very challenging for a lefty. Let's see what JT Realmuto can do.
Realmuto takes a strike. JT has bounced out, struck out, and popped out. A great speed at second with D. Gordon. Stanton not being held at first. And it hits Realmuto. And so Perez now gets a lefty with the bags loaded and 2 outs.
Dietrich, good numbers against lefties this year. 24 batting average.
This was the 4th inning. First run of the night.
This is the slider. He's all over it. Continues to swing that hot bat. You see it right there. Down through the zone. Really nice swing. Had a nice at bat against Solis as well. Lined out to short. Solis a lefty.
It just occurred to me there's probably a good number of soldiers who got to meet Derek Dietrich today and got an autographed baseball who may not have known exactly who he was, but are watching tonight and just saw that home run in the 4th. That's pretty cool.
You just dropped they do now.
Yes. There's the visit. There's Dietrich.
Derek on the right side.
One of the great moments was when Dietrich posed with the military dogs. There were 3 military dogs who were just the hit from both players and from soldiers. And the handler asked Dietrich to pose for a photo with him. And Dietrich got down there like, this is the coolest thing in the world. Right? That was Dylan. The military dogs, too, have their own vests, their own little name tags, and also awards, decorations that they've earned both in combat and in training. Dietrich with a count 0-2. Bags loaded. A run across and a 5-1 Miami lead.
I thought you were talking about the rewards for good behavior.
And those are Scooby snacks.
Yes, lots of those being handed out today as well. Pretty amazed. We got a display of the first lab that we saw was down. Leash was out of the hand and was told to rise up, pick up the leash with his mouth, and carry it over to the service person who the lab was responsible for. Just absolutely amazing obedience.
Good job by Dietrich fighting it. That pitch off. And the other thing we learned about those dogs, many of them have seen combat, have seen service, and when they come to Walter Reed, they are there not only to serve but also to act as comfort dogs for the wounded warriors and those that are in the hospital.
Dietrich putting up a pretty good fight here against Oliver Perez. Continues to challenge him with 94-mile-an-hour fastballs.
One and two. Oliver Perez, long and winding road through the big leagues has taken him from places like San Diego to Pittsburgh to New York to Seattle as a starter and now a reliever. $15 seasons worth. Dietrich, a little tapper up the line. That's a foul ball. Vance Worley, 6 innings, a run on 6 hits. Marlins are headed to the bullpen when this game gets to the bottom of the 7th.
Overtone back out. Has not changed the game plan yet. Nothing but fastballs to Dietrich.
Into right field. That's a base hit. Scoring is Gordon. Here comes Stanton. He will score, and the Marlins pick up 2 more. And Derek Dietrich has driven in 3 of Miami's 7 runs tonight.
Well, how about it for Derek Dietrich? Nice at bat. Oliver Perez refused to go to the slider, did not try to put him away with anything off the plate. Those are all fastballs. Every one of them from 94 to 95 miles an hour. A sinker, a 4-seamer, all over the place. Gets another fastball. Of course, he's going to get his timing down. A piece of hitting right there against the lefty. We told you, Derek's been very good against them this year.
Tomas Talis at the corners. And he drives one to right. Harper going back. Squares up and makes the catch. The Marlins put 3 on the board. Stretch the lead to 7-1 in D.C. And Marlins baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Jeep. By Hankook Tires. Chase down your passion, never halfway. And by your South Florida Chevy dealers. In Washington, D.C., 7-1. Marlins on top. A 7th inning stretch here. And a pitching change for the pitch. Dustin McGowan comes out of Miami's bullpen, and McGowan takes over for Vance Worley. Tyler Moore is going to stay in the ball game, and the pitcher spot is now in that 6th spot in the order, which used to be Tomas Talis.
You see the 7-1 record for Dustin McGowan, 3.18 ERA, 56 2/3 innings. That's the most out of the Marlins bullpen this year. Those 7 wins leads the bullpen as well. couple of rough outings in Atlanta, but he has been throwing the ball very, very well of late.
One of the things that Major League Baseball allows us to do as a television network is make communication with the umpires replay room in New York whenever we have a call like we just went through. Andrew Stevenson is the pinch hitter for the Nationals against McGowan. And our producer John Solser had a chance to spend some time on the phone and get clarification of Dusty Baker's challenge. Remember, on the D. Gordon ball, it was ruled on the field as fan interference, and the umpires at their discretion placed the run, Miguel Rojas, at home plate from first base. Nationals were not happy. What the Nationals actually challenged was whether it was interference or not. We definitely saw interference. You could see it hit off of his hand. And what the Nationals were hoping would happen is they were hoping it would be overturned as not fan interference, which would then force the umpire group in New York to place the runners using videotape.
Right.
So that's what they were hopeful to do. Now, the other nuance here is they could have actually just challenged the placement by the umpires here and left it at interference. But since they challenged that it wasn't interference, they lost because it was ruled interference, and the placement by the umpires here stood. My guess is that of all three options, the Marlins were going to score that run regardless.
I think so.
There's a lot of layers to that play in particular. It certainly opened the door up for the Marlins. They had scored 3 times in the top of this inning. Stevenson a base hit. Goodwin top of the order. To right. Stanton going back. And at the track he makes a leap. Can't get it. Picks it off the wall. Goodwin around first. Arrives at second. And the Nationals climb up off the canvas and get a couple of runners on.
Said it a few innings ago with Goodwin. Boy, oh boy, he's been piling up the extra base hits and does it once again. His second double of the game. Drives it over Giancarlo Stanton's head off the wall. Gets it in very quickly. That's in business here with runners at second and third.
Now you got Adrian Sanchez. Harper's on deck. And a strike.
Sanchez a couple hits in tonight's ball game, sacrificing the third. Capitalizing on the opportunity to start Daniel Murphy tonight.
Bouncer to left field, and the Nationals have a run and 2 aboard for Harper. 3 consecutive hits. Miami's bullpen is not active, but I think that's going to change here pretty quickly.
Well, probably has to. 7 pitches into this 7th inning. Consecutive hits. The run is already scored. Bit of a bad break and a bad pitch. Gets the ground ball. That's what he's looking for. Dietrich 1 step into the hole, and you realize that's a seeing eye single into left field. So the Nats continue to roll here in the 7th. Juan Nieves is going to pop out. Talk to Dustin McGowan. He's had, as I mentioned, a little bit of a rough road trip. Stuff still looks good. They just find the holes.
Well, look, it's a 5-run lead, but that can change in a hurry.
You're right to the spot of this lineup, Rich. You're right. There's Harper.
Harper, Zimmerman, you got Lind. Rendon. They're all lined up, and the crowd is back to life.
We got Daniel Murphy on the bench as well. Howie Kendrick.
Line drive center field. Yelich charging in, makes the catch. Runner at third. Goodwin will tag and score. Harper has driven in 2 tonight. So it's 7-3. And McGowan would love to extinguish it right here. Here comes Zimmerman.
It's kind of interesting, the approach. You say, okay, well, what's going on? McGowan's faced 4 hitters. Look at the 8 pitches. It's kind of what the Nats have been doing for the first couple games of this series. Very aggressive early in the count. That's what Vance Worley did a very nice job of. Kind of picked up on that and started throwing a lot of breaking pitches, a hard cutter, and a backup curveball that he likes to throw early. Get those national hitters off balance. Patience has been tested, but here McGowan really attacking the strike zone. Nats hitters ready to swing.
Crushed to left. Ichiro there, a sliding catch. The runner around second is in trouble. The Marlins are going to get a double play. Ichiro. Terrific catch there. Sanchez is doubled off. And just like that, McGowan gets his double play. Not as he imagined, but he'll take it.
How about a 9-pitch inning, partner? There you go. Nice catch by Ichi. Double play, gets him out of it.
Match, 43 years old, 10 gold gloves. That's his first outfield assist this season, adding to his career total now at 123. He can still get it done.
Well, it was a lot more about the catch, and that was a huge catch. Dustin McGowan and the Marlins. Another hard hit ball off the bat of Zimmerman. For making the catch. Sanchez helped out by forgetting how many outs there were.
Matt Alvarez sidles up the mound, and Ichiro takes a fastball for a strike. So Ichiro leads it off. You've got Rojas and then Tyler Moore. In a 7-3 game. Ichiro getting the start. This was a scheduled off day for Marcell Ozuna.
Albers trying to get back on track. He's been knocked around a little bit, including the last road trips. Very nice season for the Nats. 2.23 ERA. A lot of damage on the last road trip, including Miami.
Ichiro rips it hard. They're right in the glove of Sanchez. MLB App Bat, your #1 mobile app for live Marlins baseball. Stay connected, fully customizable experience, game day, video highlights, radio broadcast, StatCast news. Download MLB.com App Bat today. I know I veered away from the emails and the tweets, but things got a little wild there. We'll dive back in. Aaron thinks that Vance Worley looks like Russell from the Pixar movie Up, and that's not a bad comp. A highly underrated Pixar movie, Up.
I haven't seen it in its entirety yet. Do that.
Of all the injured Marlin players, and there are many, the guy that has been getting the most questions about when he's coming back is Justin Bour. As we've noted a few times on the telecast, Bour probably at least 2.5, maybe at least 3 weeks away. We were told early September. But certainly the Marlins will get an update when they return as Bour continues to try to come back from that oblique injury.
Well, one thing fans need to understand is that it's an injury that takes an awful lot of time. And when you have an oblique injury, you have to heal completely first before you start your rehab. And it's always hard to understand that. There's other injuries like hamstrings and different things where there's a lot of work that you can kind of do when you're coming back to prepare for when you're 100%. The oblique, you have to really let it heal first before you can actually start that process.
Well, there's a guy that's after our heart, right?
Donuts. I like that. I love that guy.
It's all night games tonight, or this week, so no donuts here in D.C.
I just think he's a lucky fellow to have that name.
You think that's really his name?
I hope it is.
My guess is it is his nickname.
It's kind of his name, then.
Here's the 2-2. And Albers showing a live fastball at 94.
It's the sinking action he's looking for. We had noted Marlins series back in Miami. Albers came in. The sinker was not sinking. The two-seam fastball was running just a little bit more. That's where Albers does his best work, is when that two-seam fastball has downward action into the zone. You saw it right there against Rojas.
Drew Steckenrider in Miami's bullpen. Left center field, Lind and Goodwin, and it's Lind who makes the catch. Matt Albers retires the fish, 1-2-3.
Between the Marlins and the Nationals here at Nationals Park, but True VR is on hand to provide baseball fans with a really cool virtual reality experience, and JB Long is here to tell me about it. JB, what is True VR doing with Major League Baseball?
Well, we have set up 4 camera pods in some of the best locations we think that are available to us at Nationals Park, and inside each of them there are 12 high-definition cameras, and when they're stitched together, the audience gets a full 180-degree panoramic with full 3D depth perception with which to watch the game, and on top of that we layer in our commentary and a very nice graphics package.
I had a chance to check it out. Not only is it an awesome experience, but guys, I think that gear looks really good on me.
Very nice. All right, put the glasses on, 3D look.
Right now, couldn't connect. Try again.
It should pop up pretty soon. It's like a staging act.
Yeah, well, Jess is trying to dial in the 3D look. Virtual Blaylock. Drew Steckenrider. Those are the cameras that are very cool, set up in the camera wells.
Gives you a little bit of an on-field perspective.
JB Long is also, by the way, moonlighting with this company, I believe. He's the radio voice of the Los Angeles Rams. Very talented broadcaster.
Steckenrider into the ball game for the Marlins. Great stuff. His last 3 outings, 3 innings, 1 hit, 5 Ks. A couple of times he's gone through the Nats, middle of the Nats lineup. He's here with the lower part of it, but he's been really good of late. See those outstanding numbers: 19 strikeouts, 13 plus innings. He's got all 3 pitches working right now.
That's a strike. Crowd didn't like it. Lind wasn't too pleased. The gentleman in the red cap right behind Lynn was voicing his displeasure. That one's over Gordon's head and to right, and Adam Lind, who had the game-winning hit last night, is 2 for 4 tonight.
That base hit last night seems to have sparked Lind a little bit. A multi-hit effort tonight, a couple of singles. He was 0 for August until last night. Picks up his 3rd hit of this series.
So Anthony Rendon, who is 0 for 3.
Right there is a pretty good example of how locked in Steckenrider has been. First pitch slider to Rendon. Called strike on the outside, Black.
Jam shot and a pop-up, and it's on beyond the screen. Rendon, dangerous hitter, has been quiet of late. 21 homers, 74 driven in. He's been a top 10 OPS guy for a period of time. Lind at first, and that one's going to float into the seats. Calling 2 strikes. Robert in Hialeah wants to know, why do the Marlins play so well against the Nationals and yet struggle against a team like the Braves? What can Don Mattingly as a manager do to change that?
I don't mean to be rude. I'm not doing that on purpose.
And Rendon with a big rip. Swings and misses.
Rider above the letters at 95 miles an hour. Take a look at the defense. I'll answer that question in a second. It's been outstanding tonight. This really set the tone really was struggling with just a little bit with the strike zone. Picked up a huge strike him out, throw him out double play. Great catch by Stanton. How about this double play? That was big as well. Really a nice grab. And that one right there got McGowan out of a mess in the 7th inning.
Fly ball left field. Ichiro lines it up and makes the catch.
Marlins defense has been on display tonight. One of the top defenses in all of baseball. Things happening. So back to that question, why doesn't he wave his magic wand over the team when they play the Atlanta Braves? Well, kind of like I just said, if it were that simple, you'd love to. Sometimes you match up well. I mean, you look at the Marlins versus the Nationals, even dating back to last year, they got 7 one-run wins. Confidence is high. They play a particular brand of baseball, whether it's your organizational philosophy on pitching or where you pitch or how you pitch. A lot of things factor into sometimes that ownership that we think is really apparent. When you go back to what the Braves have done against the Marlins, that spans 3-4 years. A lot of these guys on the Marlins, they weren't around for that.
Quickly, it's 0-2 on Jose Lobaton.
I just happen to think it's a little bit more coincidence than it is anything to kind of dig your teeth into and say, all right, we got to fix this.
True Steckenrider doesn't need to fix anything right now. He's really throwing well. He strikes out Lobaton. This ball game's headed to the 9th. Conley tomorrow night. Gio Gonzalez tomorrow night. And a GMC Wednesday showdown tomorrow night. Tonight, Gio's watching, and he has seen Miami take a 7-1 lead. Nationals cut it to 7-3. ERA leaders National League. Max Scherzer, Nat Gio, 2.66 for Gonzalez. And you would think they would be 1-2 slotted in a postseason series, though Steven Strasburg's return is something the Nationals anticipate.
I certainly think they're going to need Strasburg if they have hopes of getting past some of the teams in this National League and getting their way to the World Series. Made some adjustments in the bullpen. But for me, he's their X factor. Strasburg has missed 2 of the last 3 postseasons. 1 due to injury, 1 due to a shutdown. If they really do have hopes and plans of going long and far in the postseason, Strasburg will be a major player. Alber's back out for his 2nd inning of work. Gordon has found it again. A little bit of a slow road trip. The base hits his last time up. Started with a two strike. Base hit to left.
2-1 coming. And the count evens at 2-2. You got Gordon, Giancarlo Stanton, and Christian Yelich. Brad Ziegler is loosened up. Ziegler had a great time at Walter Reed. In fact, that's my favorite tweet of the night. It came through a little while ago from David Jaffe, who was our liaison, our volunteer liaison today. There's a roller out to second. And Gordon is out. We were talking in the conversation, he noted, well, I always try to tell the teams when we're recruiting them to come out here that whoever comes out to see the Wounded Warriors always has success that night, always wins that night. And he said it with a twinkle in his eye, like, yeah, you know, trying to get him out here.
I got you.
So he just tweeted in and said, what did I tell you about playing the Nats after visiting Walter Reed? Good to meet you guys today. And that's from David Jaffe. Even better to meet you, and not only the Wounded Warriors, but also the physicians, the nurses, all the staff at Walter Reed. Stanton's home run, 438 feet back in the 5th inning, a 3-run shot, and he fouls that one off of his hands. You know, we had that tweet earlier in the night saying, do you think that Aaron Judge's home run derby and all the attention that Judge was getting lit a fire under Stanton? And I'm with you. I don't think that's had anything to do with it.
Well, this is a man who's been on a mission since day one of the season to have the best year of his career.
But I will say this, and stop me if this has happened to you a few times. I've heard on numerous national shows, both on radio and on television, commentators, whether they're columnists, whether they are commentators, whether they're guys that are paid to argue with each other, which is popular these days, say to themselves, or say on the air, say, we've never seen anything like this Judge guy. That is strike 3 called. Stanton doesn't believe it. Gonzalez thought it was a strike. Look at that. That's
not even close.
It's not close, and Stanton had every right to be upset. But I've heard that numerous times now by people saying we've never seen anything like Aaron Judge before. The balls that he hits, the distance that he hits them, the exit velocity, we've never seen anything like that. And my reaction is, where have you been? I mean, this guy's been doing it for a while. He arrived in the big leagues at a much younger age than Judge.
Rich, I think I'm the new guy here. And I've had the privilege of watching Stanton all season long. And wow, what a season he's been putting together. But from somebody who was outside of Miami for the last 8 years watching Stanton do it, the only thing I would say is that, you know, the complete project, that complete season, that start to finish, great year. We call it a career year. I know he's had other seasons that could be defined as that, but I think this is the one. And I don't think people really mean what they say when they talk like that. I really hope that they don't, because if you've been watching Stanton, Judge doesn't have more power than he does. We know that. And he hits as many tape measure shots. I think what's impressed me so much, and I came across the stat yesterday. We did in the pregame show, we were talking about how good he has been against secondary pitches. Talking about the slider and the knuckleball and what he's done on this road trip. But through my research, what I also found out is he's one of the best hitters against the fastball as well. And that explains the season that he's having. He's top 20 against the fastball, and he's top 2 against off-speed pitches. That's it. What's that tell you? He's one of the most dangerous hitters in the sport right now, and he's creeping up on 40, and I can guarantee you he's going to be creeping up on 50 pretty soon. Yeah, you're right. You're spot on. If you haven't been watching, it's because you haven't been watching this guy.
Matt Albers can dial it up, and he certainly has shown that here in these last 2 innings. He's got Yelich now with a 3-2 count. 2 outs, top of the 9th. Miami up 7-3. Fastball in, and Yelich on his way down to first.
Albers thought, well, I got a pitch way inside. I should say way outside on Stanton. Why don't I try that lane one more time?
Here's JT Realmuto. Realmuto hit by a pitch back in the 7th. Marlins adding on, and that's so important against this Nationals team. They added 3 in the 5th and then 3 in the 7th.
Back to that big at bat by Dietrich against Oliver Perez. Good moment in this ballgame. You talk about adding on. Down in the count the entire time, fouled off 3 or 4 mid-90s fastballs. Got one he can handle. JT hitless here in DC so far. Always very good on the road. A couple of multi-hit games in Atlanta.
This was a week in which the Marlins knew they were going to see a lot of the Nationals. It's actually a 10-day span. 7 of the 10 games against Washington. Marlins won the 3-game series in Miami. Nationals winners last night. Realmuto takes a strike, 0-2. Miami trying to even this series at a game apiece. And of course, another home run for Stanton, 38. He adds 3 RBIs. He's at 83. The Gordon RBI double. Derek Dietrich, big night. Solo homer, 2-run single. And Realmuto strikes out. So Albers gets through the 9th. Brad Ziegler comes in and tries to close it for Miami. Marlins baseball on Fox Sports Florida is brought to you by Southwest. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By Jeep. And by your South Florida Honda dealers. 24,000 here tonight. Washington at night, very, very cool place. Brad Ziegler comes in. Ziegler has inherited the job of closer. This is not a save situation. It feels like it. And obviously the Marlins need him to get 3 outs here and keep the Nationals from getting rolling. Daniel Murphy is going to pinch hit here in the 9th. You got Brian Goodwin, Adrian Sanchez. Then you got the big bats in Harper, Zimmerman, and Lind. And Ziegler's first pitch in there for a strike. Ziegler appeared against the Nationals in the series earlier in the week. He had a scoreless inning, picked up a save. Line drive right at short. Rojas is there. And Murphy doing what he usually does, and that's hit the ball hard.
He hits the ball as hard as just about anybody in baseball consistently. You just hope that it's at somebody. Good start here to the 9th inning for Ziegler and the Marlins.
Here is Goodwin, who is added to his double total. He's got 20 doubles already. And as you pointed out, just a slew of extra base hits.
He's not your prototypical leadoff hitter. He has filled in admirably. Slugging percentage very high. Base percentage probably not where he would want it. Part of that is the aggressiveness that you get with the slugging percentage.
Now you've seen Brad Ziegler throw for a long time, and he has had a really successful major league career. Since coming off the disabled list, what's the difference pre-DL to post-DL with Ziegler?
Yeah, we can give you, at least in my opinion, a quick synopsis. As you saw early on, April he was pretty good. He had good late movement. That's the key. You don't need to pay attention to the velocity. It's not a big deal for Ziegler. He's got a great changeup, gets tons of swing and misses, but it's got to be the late movement around the plate. That's what he needs. All right, went through a rough May. Things weren't going his way. He was getting hit around a little bit. His pitch is flattened out, Rich. It's as simple as that. Sinker was up, it was staying up. The slider was up, it stayed up, and he was giving up a lot of base hits. He's always been good about keeping the ball in the yard, which makes him good for the closer's role. Doesn't give up home runs very often. What you're seeing now since his return is that late movement appears to be back. Remember he was coming in a couple months ago, you'd see that first slider, he'd throw it way inside to a lefty, or that two-seamer would run way off the corner. He was really searching for his movement. Since getting over that little bit of a back injury or pain that was plaguing him, he's been pretty good. You see that good late movement right there.
That ground ball is a hit in the right field. Stanton there to get it. A 3-hit night for Brian Goodwin. And there comes Adrian Sanchez.
Someone's going to give up contact, but it's the kind of contact you can live with. The ball's on the ground and it's finding a hole. Well, that's going to happen. See the step and a dive by Tyler Moore right there, but Ziegler needs ground balls. That's what he does. He's not going to come in. He's not going to strike out the side too often by blowing everybody away. He may fool a few hitters.
Been a mixed bag for Adrian Sanchez tonight. You can see right there at the plate he's 3 for 3, but he had an error at second, and then he lost track of the outs, or maybe the ball, and got doubled off at first. Stanton fighting the lights, slides and makes the catch in right field. That a bolt off the bat of Sanchez.
It certainly was. That offensive night that you just referenced, 3 for 3. She's up with a hard hit ball to right. Nice catch by Stanton, keeping that ball above the lights. You got to pick a direction as the corner outfielder usually. those lights always sit. You got to play in front and below or behind and above. For Stanton, he's a tall guy. Makes sense that he would go high.
It's been a nice night for the outfield. Remember the running catch by Stanton, that one there. Yelich's sliding catch, and then Ichiro, the terrific catch to start that double play. A much needed double play. Harper on the ground. Nice play there by Dietrich, on to second in time. Ball game, and Miami beats the Nationals to even up the score here in this 4-game series. A game apiece. Terrific night. Vance Worley, for the second straight start, beats the division-leading Nationals. Giancarlo goes deep for the 38th time. Derek Dietrich homers and drives in 3. All of that coming up and more on Marlins Live.